Welcome back. So the heat is reached. When the toxin accumulation is going beyond a limit, it naturally evolves heat. It's a natural progression of toxin. And in this beauty of the programmatic aspect is with this evolution of heat, the toxin gets eliminated. And the balance comes back by its own. It's a program. It's a programmatic aspect. But how do we handle that heat? When we experience fever, how do we handle that fever? What is our understanding about the fever? That's very important. Any reflection? Because I see many people, those who are repeating. So, any understanding, Dr. Kaur, about the fever? How would you?
Definitely, from all my education in MBBS and all, fever was seen as an enemy and we used to fear it. Fever should not rise at any cost. That was a general outlook towards fever. But then, by studying nature lifestyle, it is understood that nature, then I have experienced it myself also by not avoiding the fever. And if I got the fever, I just followed the nature's lifestyle of fasting and being with the fever. So every time it came to a proper result, there was no need to suppress the fever. It took its course over a few days, along with other symptoms which are there of elimination. And it took its course and came to an end, came to normalcy. So fever has a very important role. Then later on, I have understood through natural lifestyle it is not the people are very fearful about fever. The moment the fever rises, the parent wants to give to the small children also so many medication, including the antibiotics and all. But it is not. I have a proper perspective now about the fever.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Kaur, for the sharing. Now let's have an illustration of the framework that we started conversing since morning. Two frameworks. One is of natural sequence and another is of conflicting sequence that we try to understand. Now, the natural sequence is all about listening to the physical experience in terms of the sensation as it graduates to, and then the perception that it comes out to. That's a natural sequence. Now, the proposal came out from Dr. Kaur is just an idea for us. Those who have not experienced it themselves, it's just an idea, right? Now, one fraternity is saying that fever is an enemy. The moment fever comes, we should suppress it. And another fraternity is saying, no, fever is a friend. It comes to uh, reduce the density of toxin and eliminate. Now, if I believe either of the two proposals, maybe that uh, foe proposal, the enemy proposal, or the friend proposal, in either of the cases, I have to go by my belief, not by my physical experience. Here, the two frameworks are proposing two things. One is about the physical experience, and other is about the believing and furthering the experience based upon the belief. Are you guys able to comprehend at this point? Now, what should we go ahead with? Yes, Amrit ma'am.
When you said, "Are you agreeing with?" I said, "Yes,
Yes,
it's."
yes, yes, yes. So now what is my physical experience during the fever? What is my physical experience during my fever? If we would like to understand this framework of conservation in terms of the natural sequence, then I have to focus on the physical experience to begin with, irrespective of the proposals from either of the fraternity. The medicinal is fraternity is proposing that let's suppress fever. The nature cure, natural hygiene fraternity is saying that fever is a great friend. Let's embrace it. Let's encourage it or whatsoever. Now, what should I do? As a layman, I have just my physical experience to begin with. If I can understand that physical experience, then I'm left with the cues to rest during fever. My physical experience during fever proposes me to physically, mentally rest, and also it removes all the taste in my tongue. I have tastelessness in my tongue, so I cannot eat also. If I go by my physical experience, then it is proposing me to rest physically, rest psychologically, and rest physiologically in terms of consuming food. That's the cue that I am with during the fever. And all these indicates conservation of energy. As if the body is engaged in something and just giving me cue to support it by conserving more energy. Can we comprehend these physical cues and go with the cues which I am actually experiencing physically without any ideation, without believing any proposal whatsoever? Do we handle that way the fever? So if we can handle that way the fever, then perhaps the experience shared by Dr. Kaur can be my experience also. Perhaps, we don't know, but we can definitely look into it. That post the normal progression of fever, what comes back as? Anyone who wants to share the fever experience here for the group? Dr. Dubey, welcome. How are you doing?
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Recently, I faced a long healing crisis about a month, and
How are
I
you doing now?
recovered well. Great, sir. Great, fine.
Okay. Okay.
Everything is okay. Appetite is normal. Bowel, bladder, everything is okay. Sleep is okay. So,
Okay.
with more vitality, more vigor, and this both arm weakness are day by day it is lessening. I am
Okay.
being comfortable with time, sir. So it was a long journey, about a month it took,
Mhm.
and without suppressing
And
any
what
symptoms.
medicine did you take during the fever, sir?
Pardon, sir?
What medicine did you take during the fever?
No medicine at all. Even not a single tablets of any pathies. I follow the natural understanding that already we have for last few couple of months. I followed the same way, and I'm pretty much comfortable right now, and back
Right.
to my normalcy and doing my job.
So you responded to the physical cues of your body during the fever?
Yes, sir.
I think.
I listened all the talk of my sensation. Why what my body says, fatigue, no appetite, and so I rested for 3 weeks. All work closed, clinic closed, and I was at home. And all gas gates, electronic gas gates, all were closed. No contacts with any other. Rested, proper rest, and did water fast, 5 6 days long water fast, and more rest and more rest, more sleep,
So when you
and
say
recovered well.
water fast, what do you mean that by that?
By that, if I feel there was no appetite for food, there was tastelessness, there was no appetite at all. I was not feeling hunger, the keen hunger that I was used to have prior to fever. I don't have this time. So to uh, eliminate the toxin, that we have understanding the sensation. If I feel thirst, I used to sip water, and the same way I continued for 6 days, and thereafter I got some my appetite came, and I started with diluted fruit juice and all, and these days I am doing well.
So did you give any timeline to yourself?
No timeline, no timeline. I didn't went for any timeline how much time it will take. I just followed my body's perception and sensation, what my body is saying, and I followed accordingly. And I didn't puzzle for even a minute. There was no fear. And I am sharing my experience when I was in CMC Vellore, and I was taking biologics, and I continued it. I got the same symptoms this time, and I continued it for 4 months. And at that time, I was in fear. What will happen next? How much time it will take? I was never knowing. And this time, there was no fear at all. I was fearless. I was in the lap of this body stock, and I followed accordingly. There's no frame or timeline how much time it will take to recover, and followed the body's sensation just. And with God's grace, I'm doing well these days without any medicine. No
Yes,
pathy, no allopathy, no homeopath, no Ayurveda, no Siddha, no
that
Unani,
really
nothing.
means a lot about this sharing of this experience of fever and
Sir.
this experience.
But just one thing I want to share, Kalyan. Ki after this understanding, I want to share with Dr. Dubey also. Ki it becomes difficult to write medication, prescribe medication to others. That dualistic attitude is
Yes,
there.
yes,
Ki,
yes, yes, yes. That
yeah,
is very important. With this understanding, uh,
yeah.
I used to spend
Conflict of
more.
mind is there.
How do you
I
handle
have
that?
no conflict. I have
How
no
do you,
conflict in my clinics, ma'am. Just I am sharing my experience. I have no conflict. I I take my more time to my patients, and I try to convince them to change their lifestyle. I understand most of us, they are running out of their
Mm,
energy. They are running out
mm,
of energy. The elimination process, I do gastroenterology practice, and most of the patient comes with constipation, and there's no proper bowel movement. So they are running out of energy. So I try to convince them to save energy and try to consume more and more natural foods, so that they
mm.
can conserve their energy. That I do. And in some patient in acute healing crisis,
Okay.
I suggest most of the patient, and few of them they follow and they get the result without medication even. Yeah, with last couple of months, I think more than 100 patient I have treated without medicine. No
Yes.
medicine in my
Nice,
prescription,
nice.
with healing
Yeah,
crisis. In acute diseases, the
nice.
fever and common cold, cough, and toxin is coming out. Those who do believe in me and they have faith, the doctor is guiding me in a right way, so I don't prescribe anything. I go for investigation. I ask them to go for water only, or sips of coconut water, wait for the reports, and 24 after 24 hours they come and follow up. And just I ask them how you are feeling. In one day some patient feel better, then it's okay, continue the same thing. So in this way I treat my patients. And those who are reluctant to go with medicine suppressions, it's okay, fine, no duality in my mind. Those
what
who
about Dr.
consider
Kaur?
it's okay.
I being in a government setup, he is having private
Yes,
setup,
so
no?
is Dr. Dubey also is he's
I
also.
work in both the setups. I work in the both the, I am in government hospital as assistant professor, and I do my
Oh.
clinical practice as well.
So I try to reduce, Kalyanji, but still people are so much used to that
Yeah,
medicine
they are
angle.
behind the scenes. Yes.
या वो कोटा बोलते हैं उसको, महीने का कोटा है जो वो लेने आते हैं,
Yes, yes,
मंथली
yes,
Yes,
कोटा दे विल कलेक्ट
indeed.
yeah,
एंड
yeah,
दे आर
yeah,
सो
yeah.
मच माइंड वॉश उनका हुआ है ना कि टेक्स टाइम, जितना हो सके करते हैं, घर में
Yes,
तो
Hmm,
yes.
करते ही हैं.
That's good enough,
hmm.
man. Then there is no
हाँ
conflict
जी,
actually.
हाँ जी.
Yes, yes. Great. So how the heat is handled? Anyone else wish to share how they deal with fever? So now the ways of handling fever in terms of natural understanding we got from two medical doctors actually, coincidentally. Dr. Kaur and Dr. Dubey both are medical doctors and they shared their experiences with fever and how they handle it naturally. But conventionally, we don't handle this way, isn't it? So when we do not handle it natural way and we try to suppress it, then it leads to something else. So there is an understanding of two types of disease in terms of the term acute and chronic. This will be maybe repetition for the people those who are repeating, but for the new people, the meaning of acute and chronic. Let's try and understand the meaning of acute and chronic disease. It's pretty mathematical, the understanding of acute disease and chronic disease. Disease means disease. That means there is some discomfort in the body. Now, discomfort in the body and the body temperature higher than the normal. This is so mathematical. Discomfort is common for acute and chronic both. If the body temperature is more than the normal, let's not number it. Otherwise, we know that 98.6 degree Fahrenheit or 37 degrees centigrade, all those things. But a normal body temperature one can sense. Now, if one senses the temperature higher than the normal and discomfort, then it is called acute disease, which is also synonymous to the healing crisis or fever. We may call it whatsoever, fever, healing crisis, or acute disease. In all these three cases, there is discomfort in the body, and the temperature of the body is more than the normal. That's what is called acute disease. Now, if we do not handle the acute disease naturally, the natural way, if the fever is not handled, then fever gets suppressed. Try and understand this simple physics. When we suppress fever, that time the initiative of the body to eliminate the extra toxin is also suppressed. When we suppress fever, then actually we suppress the initiative of the body to expel or eliminate the toxin which is accumulated extra in the body. When we do that, what we end up doing, we actually keep accumulating the toxin within the body. And the toxin gets hardened further within the body. Because if you keep it for longer time, it gets hardened. If it gets loosened, it goes out. All the eliminations are loosening of toxin. It gets hardened when we keep it inside. So with the repeat suppression of acute diseases, the discomfort may get lessened a bit, but discomfort will be there. And along with that, the temperature will go below the normal. Below the normal, it's a state of chronic. it's a state of chronic which gets converted from the acute condition. So acute gets converted into chronic with the suppression. So acute plus suppression equals to chronic. Acute plus suppression gets converted into chronic. And going forward, we'll try and understand a few stages of disease as a progression of the chronic disease, and so that we can correlate with our health condition and try and understand. Now, conventionally, most of us are chronically suffering from some or other discomforts. Now, in the path of reversal, when we are suffering from chronic disease, that time it needs a longer continuation of conservation to get it converted into acute, because ultimately, unless and until the toxin accumulated goes out of the body, the individual is not relieved, and the cure cannot be claimed. And let's forget about the claiming, but cure cannot be attained by the individual. Whatsoever commonly, conventionally we term as cure, those are nothing but suppression of the symptomatic discomfort. The primary cause of the toxin accumulation within the body is never addressed through any routes of treatment whatsoever. Any routes of treatment which assures instant relief from symptomatic discomfort looks at suppressing the symptomatic discomfort. So there's a difference between addressing the cause and the effect. Addressing the cause can only be possible through conservation of energy. And through conservation of energy, tomorrow we'll go in details in different factors of lifestyle choices, how the conservation happens in terms of P1 and P3, in terms of physically driven responses and ideated proposals. So when obsession is attached to it, that time we may sense pseudo sense of relief for some time, but it doesn't lead to a permanent, not permanent, but a long-term state of balance. Right? Any question so far? Whatever the topic that we have covered. Yes, Deepa. Venu. Deepa is sleeping.
Resting.
Resting.
Why does in the chronic state the body temperature gets lowered?
Why does in chronic state body temperature is lower?
Yeah.
Yes. So body temperature means what it means. It is energy. No, heat is a form of energy. Now, if we retain a lot of toxin within the body, all the possessions of us needs energy. If it is a physical possession, it needs more energy. So the toxin that is accumulated within the body will attract more energy, and that will have an impact in the body temperature as lowering the temperature. Because of the over accumulation of toxin within the body, the energy available to raise the temperature of body is less, and that is the reason why the temperature of body is lesser. Right. Any other question? Amrit ma'am, Shanta, Joy.
We also see
No,
that special eliminations also become chronic, like someone having perennial cold, cough, which is not accompanied with fever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, then would the need be then for a acute state, because it's become part of one's life, the special eliminations?
Yeah. So how that is being handled at the individual's end without ideation? Because in this workshop we are talking about the ideated response and the natural response primarily. All the factors, tomorrow will intensify this. All the factors will go ahead with the natural response and ideated response. So when this kind of experience is being experienced by an individual, a continuous cold and cough without fever, as you were saying. So this is not an acute condition. Spatial elimination for sure. Acute condition means there will be a fever. There's a fever associated with an acute condition, but whatsoever, be it with fever or without fever, how one is responding to the experience. Are we responding to the experience absolutely physically, or there is a lot of unknown ideation, imagination, assumption? Based on that, we are responding and resorting to some or other therapeutic routes. That's very important to understand. If we
Kalyan,
observe,
in this
yes,
case, one point, like I was not aware about nature cure earlier, and we were following allopathy. Then I learned about nature cure. So such ideas came into me, and then I experienced it, experimented it, experienced it. But the beginning was there from the idea level.
yes. So
So
can we talk? Yes,
ideas I have taken, experienced it. Now it is not there just at the idea level. It is there in the action, sensation, perception, all the levels. It's there.
yes, yes. So when we experience or receive the idea at the beginning, how do we look at it? That's very important. How do we look at it? Do we look at it conclusively?
Instinctively felt. It instinctively felt it is something which should be considered or experienced. It felt like
Why?
that.
Why?
The idea
Well,
of facing the fever in a natural manner, or
mhm.
any these expulsions are there,
No,
they
there is
should
a
be treated
correlation.
naturally. Hmm.
There is a correlation of your own experience with the proposal. Then it is making sense that okay, I can try it without believing it beforehand. I can try it because there is some cues which I am correlating with. When somebody is proposing that during fever, there are cues from the body. Suppose for say one individual in this group has never sailed through fever without suppression. Every time fever happens, medicine. Every time fever happens, medicine. But now, when this through conversation, this is being proposed that fever comes with physical cues of resting, physical cues of not eating. Then one individual will correlate. Yes, this is making sense. This is my experience also, but I have never listened to. Can I listen to this once? So this is an inquisitive trial. You know, idea means a perceptory proposal may come, which is happening here also in this workshop. But if it is blindly accepted, okay, this is the prescription that has been given in the Let Us Inquire workshop, that whenever this happens, take this, take that. That way, this is no different than an allopathic prescription. Unless we probe into and inquire it ourselves, correlating with our own physical experience. This is very important, physical experience. Unless we have our own physical experience, it is not at all my experience. It is not at all my life or my natural. Yes, Dr.
Sir, my experience that I am sharing, I used to have recurrent sinusitis 3 or 4 times in a year with fever and headache. Every time I used to suppress it with medicine. And then I got bronchitis and used to take bronchodilators inhalers, meter dose inhaler I used to take. So, and then I got from acute to chronic disease, that is chronic cough. And then I suppressed it with medicine. And then I got degenerative disease, so-called medical named ankylosing spondylitis. So right now I am able to correlate it. Acute disease I suppressed many a times. I got chronic disease, and I suppressed chronic disease many a times, and then I got degenerative disease. And that thing I am suppressing. And these days I am listening the talk of my body, what the body says, and accordingly I am following. This is the natural things the every person, the living body that have, but we don't listen our bodies talk, and we suffer. This is my understanding yet.
Yes, yes. And another deeper understanding, because I correlate with your experience, as I was also diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis. So when we achieve a state of chronic disease, say for example in 35, 40 years, then in the path of reversal, if it takes 4 years also, let's say, it's a better bargain, isn't it? 40 versus 4. So putting a timeline that why this fever is going beyond 3 days or even 10 days, it doesn't make any sense, because in the path of reversal, it is absolutely body's body's programmatic decision to go with the healing crisis for whatever the duration it may be. Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Great.
I agree with sir. Your proposal.
Yes, yes, yes. Thanks, Amrit. Right. Joy, are you able to comprehend?
Yes, I am able to comprehend, but I have few doubts in my mind as I have seen my father who is suffering, still suffering from psychiatric ailments since 1970s. So I have few doubts. I have dealt with him very closely, and some of the things I could eliminate also, like he was on benzodiazepines for a long period, after which there were so many side effects, like he got urosepsis, and from that there on, here in Jorhat, I got a very good psychiatric consultant, Lieutenant Colonel Bhupender Yadav, who was on the same path like what you are saying. He stopped the benzodiazepines, and I could see the results a little bit lately. It was difficult to handle him, like he was unable to sleep and all. But eventually, after an year, he started sleeping also. But I have some conflict. Like now again, he's deteriorating. So means we
So
are still
let's
confused how to.
bring these questions and understanding in the next session, and let's inquire together if we find some clarity.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because this might need a longer conversation, and we are left with just 1 minute.
Yes, 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 yes. I have too many doubts actually regarding the psychiatric illness, how to deal with it. And as far as this topic is concerned, or natural cure is concerned, I think I need some more insight.
Yes, definitely. We can catch up offline also and explore together if we find some clarity.
Yes, yes. Yes, 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 absolutely.
Right. So let's rejoin. A few seconds are left. So let's rejoin and understand the stages of disease also thereon.